Hey, I have done a review on this little adapter before, but I got a new one for my M42 lenses and I wanted to explain what the differences were. As you can maybe see, this one's got an actual lens in the middle of it. So let's talk about pros and cons. That's right, I'm back at it looking for adapters for M42 lenses. This is the one that I've had and this is the new one. This one's harder to look through because it's got a lens in there. What happened with the old one was that I was limited on the focal range on this big 200 millimeter M42 lens that I got. And like I said, there's another video I'll link to that if you want to go watch the whole story, you can. But it was limiting on what you could focus on. It made it fit, but it didn't actually help it focus. This adapter is supposed to help with that. They call it an infinity focus. I don't know if that's because it allows you to focus to infinity or if it just gives you an infinite range of focus along the whole focal range of the lens. I assume it's the first one. It works the same as the other M42 adapter I had, where it just screws on the back like you would expect and then creates, for me, Nikon F-mount connections. I'm sure they also sell these for Canon and Fuji and Sony and all the other ones as well. This is the one I needed, so it's the one I got. What kind of surprised me was that the plain one without a lens has a little flange on it, a little piece of metal, a little edge that pushes down on the aperture setting adjustment pin that you find on a lot of these lenses. What that means is that it turns any lens that I had, well, I only have two, into a manual aperture setting lens. This large 200 millimeter lens has a little switch that you flip to, whether you want it in automatic or manual aperture mode. But the smaller lens, the 50 millimeter, doesn't have that manual switch. It relies on that pin to actually allow you to adjust the aperture. So the plain adapter that I had used does push down on that pin, but the new adapter actually has a deeper recessed area that means it will not push that pin in by default. It's kind of an interesting problem. It looks like there's just more threads in there in the adapter to allow maybe a deeper M42. Maybe there's a lot of different types and some of them need more threads on them, and maybe for those it would work. But on these lenses, there aren't that many threads. It's only 3 or 4 times around, and so here there's 7 or 8 threads. It's hard to tell. I'm not going to try to count. And so it doesn't go down enough. There is a little space where it would push down on that if it could go far enough, but it doesn't, so it doesn't push down on that, meaning that there was no way to adjust the aperture on this smaller 50 millimeter lens. So I had an idea, and I thought, well, what if I could put something in there that would help push down on that little pin? My first idea was to just cut a little bit of cardboard and kind of test it out, see if the idea would work. I used one of the little lens caps to draw around it and approximate creating a ring. Not real pretty. This is a place where a 3D printer could come in handy for actually printing something that's the exact right size and perfectly circular. But cardboard does the trick in a pinch. So I cut a few circles and I put those in there, and that seemed to kind of work. I could see that by putting some in there, it pushed that pen a little bit and allowed me to manually set some of the aperture settings. So then I decided I didn't want something that would be paper-based in there because it would give off a lot of little dust and little paper bits and stuff, especially on the edges because they weren't real clean edges. So I got some styrene and I took some measurements of the different adapters and pieces and tried to figure out exactly what that diameter would be, ideal diameter for that. Bent a little paper clip and tried to make a circle. It worked pretty well actually. And then I cut out those circles, which ended up not being real circular, but good enough for this purpose. And so then if you stack those little rings inside the adapter and carefully screw that on to this 50 millimeter lens, it actually gives you the ability to adjust the aperture of the lens. It's hard to see in there, but I think you can see that aperture actually adjusting. So now I can take this M42 lens with the adapter and put it on my modern Nikon F-mount camera. It's all manual aperture, it's all manual focus, but it does provide some good pictures. Where it really shines is on this 200mm lens, in that it allows the full range of focus from much closer and much further than with just the simple, kind of mechanical adapter, I would say, without actually any sort of optics. There's several people selling these adapters. I think that the quality may vary, but for these purposes, I found this one to be pretty good, and it's one of the cheaper ones. They're linked down in the description for both this adapter and the old mechanical one. Let's go outside and I'll show you how it looks with the old mechanical adapter and with the new optical adapter. Here's the adapter without a lens at the closest possible focal distance. It's all manual focus, so I'm gonna have to adjust it just manually as I go through it, and you'll kind of see what the range is as things come into focus. So you can see there, you can see, a tree that's maybe 40, 50 feet away in focus, and that's the maximum focus it can do. That's set all the way to basically infinity focus, and so that's all you're going to get with this. You're going to get some range here, but it's pretty limited. Now I'm going to leave it right like that, and let's switch over to the adapter that does have a lens in it. Here you can see the adapter with the lens in it can focus much further. It has that infinity focus that they were talking about, and so it goes much better, and you can see here you can really focus through all ranges of distances. So you can see the possibilities really open up with the focus here of what it is you want to focus on. So as you can see, it works pretty well and really opens up the options of using these old M42 lenses. One nice thing is that this Pixco brand optical M42 adapter came with a back so that it protects the lens element of the adapter. And then if it's on your lens, that's protecting your whole lens there. So it's pretty nice and works really well. If you want to see the story behind this lens, where I got it, I've got all of that over with the review of this mechanical M42 adapter, and you can check out that video here. Like and subscribe, and as always, have a good one.